Hey, welcome to Mindset Monday. I'm Rich Grajava, and thank you for stopping by. Now, on this show of Mindset Monday, I want to ask you a couple questions. I mean, do you know what's really getting in the way of your personal and professional success? I mean, for those of you who are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs and you made that point in your business and you're ready to move on to the next level, but something keeps holding you back, or it may be something personal where you get into relationships, what have you, and there's something that keeps pulling you back. Well, what's holding us back is fear. And what I want to do on this show is talk to you about three ways that you can get past fear so that you can gain professional and personal success and get past some of these blocks or obstacles that have been getting in your way. Now, the reason I wanted to share this with you is that I do a lot of work with small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I'm helping them to build their businesses, and I've also been leading men's retreats for over 20 years and helping them to become better husbands, better fathers, better friends, the whole gamut. And one of the things that I found that was consistent in all of these aspects, all these arenas of life, is fear. I mean, we all have it. I mean, there's no denying it. And this week I was talking, or last week rather, I was speaking with a client, and we were going through a phone call, and we were just talking about some of the areas that are in his that's getting in his way, and what to do to take the next stage or the next level. And I start sharing with him some of the stages of an entrepreneur. I mean, that first stage that we all go through as entrepreneurs is that what if. It's about that startup. There's something that I'm passionate about. There's something that I have as a gift that I believe if I give that, if I teach that, if I help people with that, in this exchange, I'm going to receive money. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that said, the reason I want to get into the online market, or the reason I want to get into business, the reason I want to go to the next level is that I want to make money. Well, newsflash, making money is against the law. It's called counterfeiting. So the only one who makes money is the government. So what you and I have to do is that we have to make a difference. And when we make a difference in sharing what we know and our gift, our knowledge, this is where we start to see that exchange when we start to receive money. And that's how we gain success. So I'm going through that first stage. The first stage is you got to go through and says, I can make a difference. There's something I know. There's a gift. There's a knowledge. And you begin to put it together. And then you find in the next stage of the entrepreneur that this is actually viable, that the business that you're starting is really starting to work. This is pretty cool. And after a bit of time, or after some time, you then discover as you're in your business is that it's back to the money thing, is that you're so frustrated, is that you're exchanging hours for dollars, and you want to do something differently, and you want to take this business the next level, but you face this block, this obstacle. And this is where my client was. He was very successful and built his business. He got past it. He validated. He was doing great. He was having fun. And then he got to this obstacle, this block. And he was at a loss. He was like, where do I take my business next? So as we started to go through what his gift was and where he was, we were talking about putting together some higher price ticket programs that he could easily put together. And then this is where fear came up. The fear came up is that I don't think people will pay that much for what I've got to teach. I don't think they'll show up. I don't know if I'm good enough to put that together. And, fear whatever it may be for you, but I venture a guess you've had that same experience, that what's holding you back, it may be this thing that's getting in the way. So it's like a rubber band. We go so far and then we go back. And then we go to this wall and then we go back. So as he was sharing with me, that he didn't believe that this was going to be successful for him and taking his business to the next level, I wanted to share this thought. And what I asked him was, have you ever imagine that a piece of furniture or a piece of art was in your house. Did you ever see that? And he says, as a matter of fact, I did. You know what I really want to do is I want to buy this 60-inch TV, and I can hardly wait for Saturday football, college football, because I live in the South, and down in the South here, college football is huge. And he said, I want this big TV. I can see myself on Saturday with my family, my friends, and we're sitting there laughing. We're having a great time. And as he shared this with me, I said, you know, the problem is what you just created is distortion. It isn't real. That TV that's on that you saw yourself or sitting in front of on your wall and your friends there and your family, everybody had a good time, it didn't happen, you know, or it didn't happen yet at any rate until you actually go out there and do something that gets in the way. And what gets in the way for most people is actually taking action. So what I went back to his story, I said, now let me ask you, is that what you shared with me about taking your business to the next level is that you had this fear that people wouldn't show up, that people wouldn't want to pay that amount of money, that you weren't good enough to do that. So what you were doing was doing the same thing. You were creating something in the future. You might have heard this, is that the definition of fear is a false event appearing real. A false event appearing real. So in the same way that I asked him, you know, have you ever seen something in your house that didn't exist there? And he said, yeah, he saw this big TV. Well, that's a false event appearing real. It's not real, but it did give him joy. So on the other flip side is not taking his business the next level rather, was a false event appearing real. So what do? Well, a few shows ago, I shared something called Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times. And it goes through a compass, you know, the different directions. And if you think about the east, that's, you know, the sun comes up and this is a new day. If you think of the west is where the sun comes down and it's the past. So there's this tug of war that's going on from what could be, what can be from the past, and the past keeps dragging us down. So what the old ones would say, the elders would say, is in order to get to the end is that you have to go back to the beginning and figure out how you do clean up, you know, those things that are getting in the way, the obstacle. So again, I went back to him and I shared this story with him. I said, you know, I had a friend and I went over to his house and his wife let me in and I asked where he was. He says, well, he's over in the living room playing the piano. And I said, really? I didn't know he played the piano. He says, yeah, he plays beautifully. I said, well, let me go over there and don't tell him I'm here. I'm just going to go over there and listen. So I entered into the living room, and he was facing the piano, so he didn't see me come in, and I sat behind him, and I just sat there and listened to him, and he was playing unbelievably well. So after about 15 minutes, he finally came to the conclusion of the song he was playing on the piano. He turned around, and he saw me, and he was startled. I mean, it was like, you know, not just startled that I was there. He was just startled because I was listening to him. So I asked him, I said, you know, I didn't know you played piano, and I mean, that was really cool. He says, well, I've never played in front of people. And I said, why not? He said, because the teacher I had when I was learning how to play piano said I would never be any good at it, that I just didn't have an ear for music, that I just didn't have the heart for music, but I stuck with it, and I continue to do it now to give myself satisfaction. I said, but it's a gift that you could share with the world. I mean, you really play well. And this is what I'm talking about, these things in the past that get in the way of you getting what you want to accomplish. So we did a little work about changing that so that he would be able to play in front of his friends and family, and now he does. In fact, now he's teaching piano because he understands what it's like and how best to get his students to be exceptionally well at what they learning how to play music. And he shares his own story, which makes it all that much more effective. So the second part of what I want to share with you is a story, and this is a story that one of my mentors taught me. You know, he shared this with me. As a matter of fact, not only did he share this with me, but we used to go on the road with this program, and we would be in auditoriums with 150 people or more, men and women. And the title of the program and the title of this story is Go to the Roar. And what he would teach and talk about is that, you know, the tasty item, the things that lions like, is gazelles. But gazelles, have you ever seen them, on History Channel, whatever, is that they're quick and they're jumping and they run and they are faster than the lions. And the old lions, even the arthritic lions, the ones that don't even have teeth, they have a role to play. Because you see, it's the younger lions, lioness, who actually is the hunters. And they have to chase these antelopes down, but they're quick. So the old lions go into the tall grass of the savannah and they get down there and they wait. And the young lions, the lioness, they start to chase the gazelles, and they chase them right where these old arthritic lions are lying in wait. And when the gazelles get up to the savannah where they are, they stand up and they give this tremendous roar. And the gazelles get scared and they turn around and they run into the younger lions. And of course, the younger lions kill them. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is this: if you go to the place you fear, you'll live, you'll survive. Now, the last thing I want to share with you is that what I have found in business and life, that when it comes to this idea of why don't you take the next step, why don't you start your own business, or why don't you take your business to the next level, or why don't you go back and try to fix that relationship that went south so many years ago and you don't even know why anymore. It's always this idea of fear, but it becomes a fear of failing. So when you explore this thing about failing, is to fail to what? To who? What does that mean? Well, people will look at me and say, you weren't successful. And there's all these things that go in our head, which again, if you go back to a program I did, I think it was last week or the week before maybe, called the ABCs of Success, I would encourage you to go take a look at that video, because it explains what in much more detail than what I'm going to do right now. So when people are talking about this fear of failing, one of the things that's always helped me, and I'm going to share this with you, is something that I heard from Nelson Mandela. And Mandela said this. He says, I never lose. I win or I learn. I win or I learn. In fact, I would encourage you to write that one down. I never lose. I win or I learn. See, he reframed this idea of failing into something about, I'm just learning. Now, even when I say that out loud, it feels a whole lot better. I'm more encouraged to say, you know what, I don't mind. I just keep on learning how to do something, and I have. Trust me, there are a lot of things I've learned, and I continue to learn. So that's what I wanted to share with you, is that fear is a false event appearing real. And you have the gift of change anytime you want. And a way of changing it is going back to the beginning to find out where you picked this up, where you learned how not to do what you do. Often it's the voices we hear in our head. That's why I'm encouraging you to go back and listen to the ABCs of Success. Is that when I worked with this man that I was sharing with you that started off this episode, is that when we explored, why wouldn't they show up and why couldn't you get to the next level? He says, because I got this voice in my head that keeps saying you're not good enough. And when we went back, I said, well, where did you learn that? I mean, who taught you that? Well, it turned out this was a voice that he heard from his dad. Now, his dad wasn't trying to be mean or nasty. He said what he said. But because we hear this from an authority figure, it stuck. So even though he was highly successful, what was getting in his way was his voice. So we went back and cleaned that up so that he can take the next level. The story I shared with you about my friend who was a piano, had learned how to play the piano but wouldn't play in front of friends. He had heard that he would never be able to play, that he didn't have the ear for music, he didn't have the heart for music, but he did. But that was getting in the way. Even though he stuck with it, he wouldn't do it in front of anyone until we got past that, could clean that up and move to the next step. So these things are moving up. Is like the story of go to the roar. Just go to the roar. That's another one to write down. Go to the roar. So when you're stuck and you're saying, I don't want to take, just remember, go to the roar. And then think of what Mandela said. And I think these things will help you to be successful. If you like what I have something to say, please, share it in the comments. share this video, post it over on your Facebook to your friends. Please subscribe so you know the next time I'm doing a Facebook Live event. And I want to end this segment with this. When you change your mindset, you will change your results. So have a great week, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.